Okay, at last. This happens to be Jan's 1950 1591 from Arizona. I showed it briefly in the other video where we were talking about this contest that we have underway right now. And if you're not aware of that yet, it's a contest again where I'm giving away a vintage sewing machine fully restored. And all you have to do is go to the YouTube channel that I have and find that video where I'm offering that, and then post why you love vintage sewing machines, and have all your friends from Facebook and any other place come and like that comment that you've written on the YouTube channel. We have some that are already involved with that, a lot of interest. I think we have close to 31 likes on it, and one dislike. I'm really wondering who that might be. But the point being that it's a great contest. You could very well win a machine similar to this, or at least from this era. This one again is a 1950 1591 that Jan sent to me some time ago, and it had a lot of issues. I'll show you if I kind of zoom in a little bit on this original motor that it was on it, and this wiring, as you can see, these are the wiring contacts coming off of the motor. Is pretty much indicative of any of the wiring that was on the machine, off of the light, off of the motor, the power cords, the foot control cord. Everything had at one point or another bare wires exposed on it, so it needed a lot of TLC from an electrical standpoint. What we're going to do right now is obviously a confirmation sew off, and if I zoom in real close, you can see that what we're going to be sewing off on is leather. The leather type is called protected full grain. No idea what protected means, but I certainly know what full grain means, and that is one of the toughest materials that you can possibly sew through, other than possibly this right over here, if I can get it on the camera. That's called nylon webbing. It's the stuff, if you've ever been alongside the road and been towed by another patron, or you've towed a vehicle yourself, you very likely use some sort of a strapping like this. They sell it at different retailers, and it's designed usually with a tow hook, and you can pull a car with it. We're going to be going through 2 layers of that, and this stuff is rated at about 2,000 pounds as far as tensile strength. So you can only imagine, if we zoom in real close, you can see the honeycomb type appearance. It's tougher to get through than even Kevlar, and yet with Jan's machine, after I've fully restored it, we're going to go through 2 layers of this. So the cumulative strength of these 2 layers is 4,000 pounds. You can do the math and you can go, holy cow, I wish my machine could do that, because very few machines can unless they've left this workbench. The other thing I wanted to show you real quick, and I don't want to belabor this too horribly long, but I did have a challenge from a visitor to the YouTube channel saying, why are you always saying that the motors on the 1591, like Jan's machine, and the 201, the potted motors, why are you always saying that they're 0.6 amps? How would you even know that? There's nothing on them to indicate that they are that amperage. Well, not in plain sight, but if we remove the cover off of the motor on the back, and I'm going to do that right now on camera, and then I'll zoom in on it, you'll be able to see clearly that the potted motor on Jan's 1591 and also the 201 are both 0.6 amps. They're tightly wound. I love the wiring bundles on these particular machines because they really maximize every single ounce. I'm just going to turn my screen around so I can make sure that I can see and you can see. Yeah, that's not too bad. So there's 2 screws on here. There's one on the top and then one on the bottom over here on this side. And all we're going to do is take this little cover off, and then you'll be able to see why I keep making this ridiculous claim that these potted motors are rated at 0.6 amps. So yeah, if you're a faithful follower, you can already say, well, are you telling me then that the potted motor on the 201 and the 1591 are exactly the same motor. In other words, the 201 is obviously significantly larger, but you're indicating that it has the same amount of power. Yes, it does. So you're kind of, and I can explain in another video how we actually get this off. It's going to be bolted on the machine, turn it like this, bolted on the machine like this, and you have to take off that balance wheel, and then there's going to be 2 screw points here that you'd have to remove those screws in order to wiggle this off of the end of the machine, as I had done in restoring Jan's machine. But for right now, what I want to evidence as we take this off carefully is that right on the inside, and I don't know the best way I'm going to be able to do this because I don't want to lean it against Jan's machine. We can do it kind of like that, I think. Yeah, that'll work. I think that'll work. Might work. Okay, that's pretty good. And what you're going to see right here on the inside of this motor, once I zoom in nice and tight so you can see it, is the amperage that I've been talking about. See how close we can get here. Okay, there is the official nomenclature plate on the inside of the potted motor, the same on the 1591, the same on the 201, and you can see right over to the right there, 0.6 amps, 75 cycles, and it's got a bunch of other gobbledygook about the power of the motor, the voltage, etc. But let it be put to rest that I haven't been telling a lie. The potted motors are rated at 0.6 amps. Now, how a machine uses that amperage really weighs into the factor of how that machine is restored, quite honestly. So you're not going to get the same performance. And I say this to people that write me all the time. They go, well, I'm looking at this 1591, I'm looking at this 201, I'm looking at this 301A, whatever it is. I'm looking at this featherweight, this 221. Can I expect it to do the same thing that yours do in the videos? The answer emphatically is no way. Because most of those people that are selling that, whether it's the marketplace on Facebook, whether it's on eBay, whether it's on Bonanza, whether it's on Craigslist, these are individuals that have acquired these machines somehow, sometimes through the passing of a family member. But the point is that they haven't gone through a restorative process. When machines leave the factory, for example, Jan's here on the workbench, when it left the factory back in 1950, you know what? Pretty much all those 1591s you could say were equal. They had all just been created in the factory. They all had the same components. They should have all performed about the same. And the factor, though, once you have a machine leave that factory and it's exposed to all kinds of elements, sewing conditions, and everything in between, those machines are not going to perform the same way. How could you expect them to? It's like saying any 1963 Chevy Impala that you buy is going to drive exactly the same way. We know that that's not true. It factors into how it's been treated, how it's been maintained, how it's been serviced, all those things. There's nothing different when it comes to a sewing machine. It's a precision instrument, and if you go on Craigslist or somewhere else and you're expecting it to perform like mine, get used to disappointment, plain and simple. So enough bravado right now. I get real passionate about it just because I know the number of hours that I spend at this workbench on Jan's and any other machine that comes to me, and rest assured it's unmatched by anything that anyone else has ever put up on any of those websites that I mentioned. Great websites. I've used a couple of them myself, but not everything's created equal once it leaves the factory. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to zoom in on that needle. We've covered a number of bases. Let's see, right about there. Yeah, that's pretty good. Turn my little screen around so hopefully I can see what you see. Yep, I got a pretty clear shot right now. All right, so I'm going to move all this extra stuff, including this motor that I wanted to put to rest. The myth that I've been propagating, obviously it's not a myth, about the amperage of that motor. Again, what we're going to be sewing off on here is this full grain leather. And we're going to start out modestly, not to humiliate this incredible machine, but to give it a little bit of a chance to kind of, I like creating a little bit of drama. I think drama is kind of fun. So we're going to start with just one layer. Even one layer of this stuff is, I would say, close to 3, almost 4 ounces of full grain leather. That in and of itself, if you go to Walmart or one of the other retailers that offers some of the contemporary singers, you know what? They will struggle with it. And if they don't, it's going to put such a weight on that motor that that motor will not last very long. Okay, so first sew off here on Jan's machine, full grain leather, just a single layer, and we'll see how she does. And I'm not going to throttle her up. I'm going to kind of harness that power back a little bit, and we'll give her a chance to really show what a fully restored machine can do, even not at maximum power. Here we go. I got to take these boots off. my off start there is I'm trying to get these big old boots on that little Bakelite foot control. It's just a recipe for disaster. And I don't think I can get my boot all the way up there. If I forget to show you my boots, then I'll, you remind me. Now look at the stitch quality on that. I'm going to try to bring it around a couple of different angles so that you can see it. The spacing, the formation, everything about that stitch is absolutely perfect. And I'll obviously zoom in at the end so you can see it as well. And look at the lock-in stitch. I've said it a million times. If you want to know that a machine has been properly restored, the lock-in stitch will not tell a lie. It's either going to be there or it's not going to be there. And in this instance, that sew off on this single layer of full grain leather tells the entire story. Okay, that was easy peasy, even with my big Dumbo boot trying to hit that little button on the Bakelite controller. What we're going to do now is we're going to really raise the stakes. I'd like to go through a total of 3 layers of this full grain leather. Now you look at it from the side along with me, and you tell me if you think that your machine could do this. Now if you got a machine for me, the answer is yes. But look at that from the side. Holy mackerel. We're looking at about 12 to 14 ounces of full grain leather. How do you think this machine is going to do? Well, I'm hoping it does real well. And I haven't tested it yet, so this is an unknown factor as far as going through this many layers. But I'm pretty confident that this machine is going to get the job done. The other thing I should mention is we're really zoomed in here on the needle, is that a common mistake that I will get questions about from visitors to the YouTube channel and otherwise is they're having some sort of stitching issues, stitching problems, the stitch isn't coming out, and they'll describe to me how they've threaded their machine. Because most of the Singer machines, or I should say many of them, are going to have the flat side of the needle to the right, and you're going to thread them from left to right. Not so on the Singer 1591. That flat side needs to go to the left, and when you thread it, you're going to thread it just like a featherweight from right to left. So those 2 little tips could save you a lot of frustration if you're sitting there and saying, I don't get it, I think I've got everything right and yet it's still not turning out. That very well might be the reason you're struggling with your machine. So, all right, so again, what do we have underneath the presser foot right now? We've got 3 layers of full grain leather. We're talking about probably close to 14 ounces of leather. Let's see how this 1591 with a 0.6 amp pouted motor does on this job. You ready? All right, here we go. All All right, all right. You should spin that back about 5 or 6 times and see if you can even hear the machine showing any sign of struggle. There's nothing. This machine just went through it. It's like, okay, thanks for all the drama there, Scott, about the 3 layers of full grain leather. There it is, full grain leather, 3 layers, big deal, man. And look at the stitch quality. Are you kidding me? The spacing, the formation, everything about that stitch is absolutely perfect. We turn it over. You know what? I've got to pull this back because we're talking about full grain leather, for gosh sakes. Look at that. The lock stitch is absolutely perfect. Jan, if you're watching this, your machine just sewed through, let me turn it like this, 14 ounces of full grain leather. Spin it back, listen to it. The machine didn't strain, it didn't pause, it didn't go, oh man, this is tough. It just went, and you could tell by the rate that that was passing underneath the presser foot and over the feed dogs. I wasn't even close to full throttle. I didn't have to punch it to the ground and say, all right, let's hope for the best here. I just pushed on the foot control with my big old awkward boot, and it just went right through it, just like, no problem. So you know what? This gets my stamp of approval, and I'm going to go ahead and clip these tails off the material real quick and then zoom in so you can look at these stitches up close and personal. And no, I haven't forgotten, I do have 2 layers also of nylon webbing that I would love for you to see me sew off on as well if I don't run out of space on my SD card. Hopefully not. So I'm going to move these, let me move these over more towards the center of the machine, and I'm going to zoom in real quick on these. Hopefully we can capture this and still have time for that other sew off as well, because you know what? I love showing off Jan's amazing machine. Look at those. Are you kidding me? The one on the left is obviously the one that we have 3 layers of full grain leather. You don't see any difference. The one on the right is the single layer. Look at those stitches. Oh my gosh. Is that cool or what? All right, so before I run out of space on my SD card, let me zoom in and let's see if we can put this incredible 1591 from the 1950s to the test one more time. And what we're going to do, and this is going to be kind of tough to see because we're going to have basically blue on yellow. It's probably not going to be horribly easy to see, but you can see from the side what we're going to be going through. Again, this nylon webbing literally came from a toast strap that I bought from a local retailer, cut it up for sew-off purposes. It's rated at 2,000 pounds. So we have, with 2 thicknesses here, we have the equivalent of 4,000 pounds of pulling tensile strength. So we're going to see what this 1591 can do with this. I'm going to put it underneath the presser foot, drop it down, and we're going to see if this machine can do just as well with this, assuming I can get my big old boot on the foot control. So here we go. This again, you're talking 4,000 pounds of tensile strength. We'll see what this incredible machine can do with this. Here we go. Slow down, Scott, slow down. It was like, I want to go, I want to go, I want to go. But I still had to kind of hold it back a little bit. And some of you might also wonder, all right, I get the fully restored part. We know how persnickety and how meticulous you are, Scott, about what you do with your machines. That's why many of you really jumped on the opportunity to post your comments and to begin the process of getting them liked. Again, remember that contest where I'm giving this machine away ends December 15th. So you don't have a lot of time left. But what other secrets can you give us? Well, I'm not going to give you all my secrets. I'll tell you that the restorative process is critical. Also, when you're sewing at this level, you've got to look at the type of needle you're using. I've got to give a plug for Schmetz. I'm a firm believer in Schmetz. There's a lot of needle makers out there. There's organ needles. There's a variety of other needle makers. But I've had so much success with the Schmetz needles that I would highly recommend them when you're looking to sew heavy duty, when you're looking to sew lighter weight, and you got to pick the right needle for the job, obviously. So let's take a look at this nylon webbing. Again, this is because of the honeycomb appearance, it's really kind of tough to see the stitch definition. But rest assured, if you're as close as I am to it, the stitch formation, the spacing is absolutely spot on. Also, as we go to the back, you can actually see it a little bit clearer on the back, but we would have to zoom in real close for you to see it. And I'll tell you one thing, I'm yanking on that for all I'm worth. Those stitches are there to stay. So, you know what? When it comes, and I'm going to try to zoom out a little bit here so I can talk to you before we wrap up this video. Come on. All right, hopefully that works. I'm going to see if you can hopefully see me in the camera. All right, there I am. You know what? I've got a bias, obviously. These are my machines. And but when it comes to getting a machine to do what you just witnessed on camera, sewing at that level, whether we're talking about the initial single layer of full grain leather, the 3 layers of full grain leather, or this nylon webbing that is crazy, crazy tough to get through. Tougher, again, I would argue, than even Kevlar. And I mean, the proof is in the pudding. And the proof here is that Jan's machine, when she gets it out in Arizona, and I just got a note from her as I was telling her about the plan to ship it by Saturday. I think I'll be able to ship it sooner. So if you just heard like a little, ah! That was probably Jan out in Arizona going, I might even get it quicker, because she said it's like Christmas come early. And that sense of excitement, that sense of enthusiasm over a vintage sewing machine is why I do what I do. Taking something that otherwise a metal collector, someone that, you know, basically recycles metal, would, without any thought or conscience, take a beautiful machine like this and throw it into a heap of metal and then walk up to the counter waiting to get their check. When we know the history, the legacy of the great Singer Sewing Machine Company, and this model in particular, and you see the evidence of what it can do. And, you know, I've had customers where I've had the privilege of having their machines, every variety of sewing that you can imagine. I've got a U.S. Marine that has allowed me to give him tips and help him with his machine. It's a Husqvarna. He sews webbing gear so that he can do mountain climbing. I mean, talk about extreme sports. Others are looking to do quilting. I mean, these amazing machines, if people opened up their eyes and their mind to see what they're capable of doing and the pleasure that they can bring and the creative outlet that they can give you, everybody would want to have one of these machines. So you that are in this unique circle of getting it, thanks so much, because it inspires me to continue to do what I do. And so thanks also for being a subscriber. Again, if you haven't checked out that video where you could win a machine like this, not exactly the same model, but comparable as far as what it's capable of doing, post those comments. Let others in the world know how you feel about vintage sewing machines. And then get all your friends to come to that YouTube channel and like your post. And whoever has the most likes, again, by December 15th, is going to get that sewing machine that I have tucked away for them. So check it out, post your comments, and thanks so much for being a subscriber. What do you think of Jan's machine? Pretty cool, huh?